A qualified person must understand electrical hazards associated with the scheduled work task and must be able to react appropriately to all hazards associated with the task. A qualified person should be able to understand the risk assessments and the proper application and limitations of PPE. They must understand the limitations of test equipment such as voltage testers, how to select appropriate equipment, and how to apply that equipment to the planned work task. The phrase "has demonstrated skills" requires that the person must actually demonstrate the ability to perform the task. It may be necessary to demonstrate the ability to perform the task while using appropriate PPE to ensure that the restricted lighting and field of view of the arc flash chute hood or the dexterity limitations of voltage-rated gloves with leather protectors do not hinder the employee. Part of this training is about learning how to select and use the personal and other protective equipment required to perform the task safely. Training may be completed in incremental steps. Once the instructor is sure that the employee is ready, the employee would be allowed to perform the procedure with the instructor close by to help out as necessary. Until the employee shows a level of confidence at the task, the ability to perform the task safely with the minimum ability required in the instructor's opinion, the employee should not be allowed to perform the procedure without the instructor watching close by. However, once this level of knowledge and ability is reached, the employee may then be considered a qualified person to perform that particular task. The employee must know how to safely use the test instrument to perform the required measurement task. This use requires an understanding and capability of interpreting all readings and indications given by the test instrument. It also includes knowing the different settings, limitations, and operating modes of the device, as well as the proper terminal into which leads are to be installed. Retraining is necessary when inspection indicates an employee is not properly complying with safety-related work practices when new equipment, including PPE, or new technology is introduced into the work environment, when new or revised procedures are to be used, when retraining has not occurred within 3 years, and when requested by the employee. You are the only one who truly knows when your skills are not current or not sharp enough to safely perform a task. Updating and refining your skills can help prevent injury. An unqualified person is any person who has not received the specific training to perform a task or to recognize that an electrical hazard exists and how to avoid the hazard, or who has not shown demonstrated ability. Human error and its negative consequences on people, processes, the work environment, and equipment needs to be addressed. Human factors are generally recognized as one of the leading causes of injuries, and an impaired employee may be unable to perform the task at hand safely. If taking shortcuts, skipping procedures, or routinely breaking rules is not addressed, employees begin to consider their actions as being condoned by the employer. If the employer is aware of these issues and does not promote safety, employees will assume they are permitted to continue the unsafe work practices. By not enforcing the standard, you create a new standard. Employers and employees must realize that an illness or fatigue from extended hours may put the employee at risk. You are uniquely qualified to determine impairments that may prevent you from safely performing an assigned task. You must recognize when you feel ill or are fatigued by an extended shift and acknowledge that continuing in this condition could put you or others around you at risk. The risk assessment procedure shall require that preventative and protective risk control methods be implemented in accordance with the following hierarchy: elimination, substitution, engineering controls, awareness, administrative controls, PPE. Each risk control method is considered less effective than the one before it. Elimination, substitution, and engineering controls are the most effective methods to reduce risk, as they are usually applied at the source of possible injury or damage to health, and they are less likely to be affected by human error. An example of elimination is placing conductors and circuit parts in an electrically safe working condition. An example of substitution is reducing energy by replacing 120-volt control circuitry with 24-volt control circuitry. An example of engineering controls is guarding energized electrical conductors and circuit parts to reduce the likelihood of electrical contact or arcing faults. Awareness, administrative controls, and PPE are the least effective methods to reduce risk, as they are not applied at the source and they are more likely to be affected by human error. An example of awareness is using signs alerting of the potential presence of hazards. An example of administrative controls is using procedures and job planning tools. An example of PPE is shock and arc flash PPE.